I brewed a hazy IPA using only British ingredients and it turned out banging. What's up guys, it's Zach here from Metal Malt Homebrew. Welcome back to another grain to glass video, and this one is a continuation of my British ingredient sort of theme. Last one was the British Helles, this one is going to be a hazy IPA. So when I first started this beer, started to design the recipe anyway, I wanted to sort of get a proper dank, juicy, overripe fruit New England style IPA because that's what I like to drink. I'm not as big of a fan of the New Zealand IPAs and things that are out at the moment. They're really bright and fresh. It's not so I don't like them. I just prefer that dank, overripe fruit New England IPA style. However, once I got into designing the recipe, it looked to me as if a lot of the British hops available were going to be far more on that New World, New Zealand sort of style, sort of bright citrus, fresh fruit sort of vibes. None of the overripe stuff I was after. So essentially, I've rebranded it. I'm going to call it a British Hazy IPA, but it's going to likely lean more into the New Zealand style of things. Obviously, I don't know until I brewed it, but that's the way it's reading on paper. But anyway, let's get into it and we'll see how we brewed it. Right, as always, with a New England IPA or a Hazy IPA, water is key, in my opinion. I'm starting with a base of reverse osmosis water from Spotless again, as I've been doing recently and been having great results. And I'm going to use a tried and tested Verdant water profile. I've used it several times and it's always worked flawlessly for me for hazy IPAs. So the key thing for me with a hazy is you need a strong chloride to sulfate ratio, should I say. So what that will do is it will help with the juiciness of the hops. It will reduce any sort of bitterness and it will give a nice amount of body and softness to that beer, which to me is what makes a good hazy IPA. So I've used the Verdant profile several times and it's never let me down yet. So we're going to stick with that and see how we get on. Right, on to the recipe itself then. This is basically my standard hazy pale ale New England IPA grist grain bill. It's worked for me loads of times. I always use it and it's pretty standard in the industry really. It's nothing too complicated. But what we're going for is about 74% Golden Promise from Simpsons, so another British maltster. I quite often use Maris Otter, however, for this one, because I think the hops are going to lend themselves better to a lighter base, I'm going to use Golden Promise. So Maris Otters gives you slightly more depth of flavour, a bit more nuttiness and biscuitiness, whereas the Golden Promise is touch cleaner, a touch lighter, so we're looking at sort of light biscuit flavours and a light honey note, because this isn't going to be a malty beer anyway, so I don't really want too much flavour contribution. So I think Golden Promise is going to lend itself really well to this. I've used it in the past to good effect, but more often than not, I've stuck with Maris Otter, so this will be quite interesting for me to see how it goes. We're then going to add flaked oats and wheat, so the oats will lend themselves nicely to that haze, will give it a good stable haze and a bit more body. The wheat will add a little bit of haze, and it'll also just help with head retention, so we're going about 10% each on those. And then finally, we're going to have around about 6% of dextrin malt. Probably not necessary, but I like to add it in. Should again just help with the head retention. And yeah, that's about it in terms of the grist. As I say, I've used a very similar grain malt to this many times and it always works. With this one, I'm aiming for around 5% because I want to keep this quite light and sessionable. I think from having read about the British hops, I think if we go overboard and try and make this too strong and have to add too many hops in, it might end up a little bit grassy. So we want to make this quite light, very drinkable and almost just a fresh, summery sort of beer. Right, the mash for this beer then. Mega simple single infusion mash. I'm going to mash at 70 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. I've done this before many times and I think it's a really nice temperature to mash hazy IPAs at. So what that will do is it will make a slightly less fermentable wort, which means we'll have a good bit of body in the final beer, which works really nicely with that soft mouthfeel because I like these beers to feel kind of full and juicy. So that 70 degrees C mash usually works brilliantly for me for that. I've tried going even higher to 72, but I didn't feel like it worked quite as well as the 70 for me. I don't know why, but it's just the way I like to do it. And we'll do the 70 degrees C mash for an hour, and then we will do a mash out at 75 degrees C before moving on to the next step. Right, so the mash was completed. I've raised the grain basket and started heating up to the boil. As always, while that's happened, I have done my sparge in the usual way. So jug of water over the top to rinse all of the remaining sugars out and do a bit of cleaning and everything else in between while I'm heating up to the boil. So for the hops, I'm using Harlequin and Olicana, two British varieties I've never used before. So on paper, it says Harlequin should give me passion fruit, pineapple, and sort of peach and tropically notes. And the Olicana should give me mango and citrus. However, from doing a bit of research, it sounds like it's all, as I said earlier, sort of fresh, bright fruit as opposed to dank, overripe fruit. So again, they should lean themselves nicely into a sort of New Zealandy style, bright, fresh, New World IPA. Given that this is a hazy and we don't want any bitterness, I'm going to add no hops into the boil whatsoever. We're going straight into aroma hops. So we're going to do a 30-minute hop stand with 30 grams Harlequin and 20 grams Olicana. So obviously this is a 9-litre batch, so we don't need too many hops in there. And then we're adding no other hops until we get to the dry hop. And there we're going to add 60 grams Harlequin and 10 grams Olicana, because I want to lean more into the Harlequin to get that passion fruit, tropical, peachy sort of vibes there. Because I think the Olicana is going to be a little bit brighter and a little bit fresher. Right, we're now at a steady rolling boil. As you can see, for this one, because it's a hazy and I'm not adding any hops into the boil, I'm just doing a 30-minute boil. It's more than enough. It'll do everything I need it to. There's a lot of school of thought that says you don't need hour boils anymore. I still like to keep an hour boil generally, unless I'm doing beers like this. So we're going to go with a 30-minute boil. And then obviously, as we've discussed, all of our hops are going in as whirlpool additions and dry hop additions. So what we'll do is we'll come back at the dry hop. Right then, so yeast and fermentation for this beer. I'm using Verdant IPA yeast. I think that's a brilliant yeast for hazies. I use it all of the time and it's never let me down. It ferments fast. And it gives this nice sort of soft stone fruit, peachy apricot-y kind of character to it. I always find it quite subtle, but it always works really well in these style of beers, so that's exactly what I'm going for. In terms of the actual fermentation temperature for this one, I'm just going to ferment start about 18 to 19, and then as it starts to kick in, I'm going to ramp up to about 21 degrees C over a day or two, and that will just finish it off nicely, and I'll leave it at that temperature for the full duration. And then we'll cold crash it and we'll package it. I will also leave the dry hops in at that temperature. I'm not going to mess around with temperatures and do soft crashes or anything like that for the dry hops on this one, purely because I can't dump yeast, can't dump trub, and I also can't do a fully oxygen-free dry hop. But yeah, that's the plan. We'll come back during the fermentation in the dry hop. Right, we are now at about day 2 and my gravity's come down a good chunk, so I know my fermentation's still ongoing. However, it's not going to be too vigorous that it blows off all of the compounds I'm going to get from these hops. So as I alluded to earlier, with these little Fermenter King Junior fermenters that I've got here, I can't do a fully oxygen-free dry hop. I haven't got a hop bong or anything that fits it. So we're going to do it now during active fermentation. So that will mean that oxygenation shouldn't be an issue. And it will also mean that we might get a little bit of biotransformation. So all I'm going to do is pop the lid and dump the hops in, and then I'm going to let this beer finish out. So hopefully it won't be on the dry hops for more than about 4 or 5 days max. I'm expecting to be able to package this beer inside of a week and have it drinking within a week, I think. But yeah, we'll come back once it's done. Right, the final product then. As you can see, it already looks the part. It's got a really nice, fairly stable haze on there. It's a real nice, light, pale colour with a tight white head on it. More than happy with the way it looks. I've already tried this and it's come out really nice. So the aroma is super fresh. It's just citrus, orange citrus mainly, with a little bit of sort of passion fruit in there. It just smells light, crisp, and just not overly juicy, but still plenty of that sort of tropically character on there. The mouthfeel, got that bang on. So that verdant wort profile's worked well, as it always does. I knew it would. My only slight concern was that I've obviously dialed this down a bit, so it's come out at 4.9% because I wanted to make this a little bit more sessionable, because as I sort of said, I was a little bit worried with the British hops from what I've read, that if you overdo it, especially on the dry hop, it can end up being a little bit grassy. And I think that is definitely true. However, that is really nice. That is crushable. And the flavour is very similar to the aroma. So I'm getting super fresh, a lot of orange citrus, a lot of sort of citrus in general, but there's definitely a bit of pineapple in there and definitely some passion fruit going on in there. There's a tiny bit of maybe like peach or something, which has probably come from the verdant yeast, because that always lends itself nicely to these styles of beer. And the other thing that's worked really well is switching to the Golden Promise. I think if I'd used Maris Otter here, it would have got a little bit too flavoursome for this beer. the sort of light biscuity honeyness of the Golden Promise has worked really well in this. And all in all, that is a super crushable summer hazy IPA. If you told me that was brewed with all British hops, I probably wouldn't have believed you, because that screams New Zealand New World IPA, which isn't generally the style I would go for. I tend to like the big dank juice bombs and New Englands. However, that on a summer's day would be absolutely spot on, and I would happily brew that again as it is. That being said, I don't think you could go much higher on the dry hops with those. I think it would start to get grassy and all a bit muddled and not so pleasant. So I think with the British hops for brewing hazy IPAs and this style of beer, you have to dial it back a little bit and keep it a sort of 5%-ish sessionable hazy IPA without too big of a dry hop. I mean, there's a good chunk of dry hop in there and it has worked nicely, but I probably wouldn't go any bigger than that. That is a banger of a beer. I'm genuinely happy with that. And as I say, I would never have known that was British hopped. So please feel free to give that a go. And if you've got any other suggestions, I'm going to try a West Coast IPA next with British hops, see how that comes out. But again, any other suggestions, let me know. And please feel free to check out my other videos. Cheers.